Welcome to the MetTrans Transcast. I'm Matt Kaplan. I'm here with Dr. Thomas OBrien, who is the Associate Director for Long Beach Programs for the MetTrans Transportation Center. And Tom, first of all, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
We're going to explore a little bit of really what MetTrans is, first of all, but then also something that MetTrans is making available as a resource online. Let's start with just a word or two about what MetTrans is and how it came about.
The MetTrans Transportation Center is a partnership of the University of Southern California and California State University, Long Beach. We are a federally designated University Transportation Center. This is our 10-year anniversary this year. We were first established through the Transportation Equity Act for the 21st century, which those of us in transportation commonly refer to as T21, Major Transportation Reauthorization Bill from 1998. And then we've subsequently gone through 2 competitions to maintain our designation. Like other transportation centers across the country, we have sort of a thematic mandate, which is conducting research, education, and outreach, focusing largely on metropolitan area problems and metropolitan area transportation problems, and how our research, education, and outreach can contribute to resolving those problems.
There are only a handful of transportation centers around the country.
There are, in fact, that we were the first in Southern California, still the largest.
A big part of MetTrans is research, and beyond that, education and outreach. Talk about that a little bit.
We have sort of 4 main areas that we work in. Goods movement and international trade, which is our largest thematic area. About 50% of the work that we do, particularly in the research area, involves goods movement and international trade, which makes a lot of sense given where we are, our proximity to the ports, the airports, and the impact that trade has through our region. But we also do a lot of work on the mobility of urban populations, including public transit, on highway infrastructure, and on safety, security, and vulnerability issues. And many of these are obviously interrelated. Those are sort of the way we organize the work that we do.
That sounds like it's mostly devoted to the research side. How about education?
Well, between the 2 universities, we have very strong programs in planning, policy, engineering at the USC side that deal with transportation. Here at Long Beach, we have the Master of Arts in Global Logistics, as well as our Global Logistics Specialist program, which is a professional designation program. And so we prepare students at the undergraduate and the graduate level for employment, for future research in areas that are critical to the transportation industry.
MetTrans maintains a very high outreach profile as well.
We do, and that's something that we've done a lot of at the Long Beach end. We have our flagship outreach effort, which is the annual town hall meeting, which highlights key issues in supply chain and trade and transportation. We also do professional training, which is one of our outreach efforts, through special workshops, seminars that deal with a host of issues tied to transportation. And then one of the things that I'm excited to talk to you about today is outreach through our dynamic website.
And that gets us right into this other topic of this timeline, which has now been posted online, and it comes out of, I guess, all of this research that has been conducted.
That's right. In 2003, we started a program at MetTrans called Monitoring the Ports. We were seeing a lot of research that was dealing with port-related issues, and we saw a need to document a lot of what was happening on the ground in a very rapidly changing environment. And some of the work that was done by our researchers resulted in a need for a go-to source to sort of get a handle on all of the things that happen from day to day in the world of goods movement. And in fact, in 2 projects that I personally worked on, we had a timeline of policy-related issues, events, activities that had a direct impact on port operations here in Southern California. And we decided that those tools would be very useful for any researcher. We also had a timeline that was developed for one of our town hall meetings that dealt with port security, and it was very popular. And we thought that making these timelines available through the web in an interactive way would be of value to researchers who wanted to get a good handle on how things are changing over time, not only in Southern California, but in goods movement-related activities in the state and across the country and throughout the world.
If we look at it, what periods are going to be covered in the timeline, and how are you going to keep it updated?
Well, most of the events and the entries that are in the timeline, as I mentioned, grew out of our own research projects. So much of them will be after the year 2000. That's sort of the starting off point, because it was at that time when I think the profile of the goods movement industry changed dramatically and garnered a lot of attention from researchers. And so sort of 2000 is our jumping off point. We review newspaper, journal articles, websites on a daily basis, and we have a student research assistant dedicated to this task who updates the timeline, who makes sure that everything gets uploaded on a timely basis. It's a tremendous amount of work because this is a very dynamic industry. Things are happening on a regular basis, particularly here in Southern California, so there's a lot to stay on top of.
Give us an idea of the kinds of issues that people might come across on the timeline.
Well, we're organizing it so you can search the timeline by year, by category. Major thematic categories include security, include the environment. We have a legislative section and policy section, and we also have a region section, since we understand that researchers will have a particular interest in either the Southwest, the Pacific Northwest, the East Coast. And so a user will be able to search by keyword or by category or by time frame or also by source. We tend to rely upon a number of key trade-related publications, and it might be useful for someone to find out how, for example, the Journal of Commerce or the Long Beach Business Journal or the Los Angeles Times has followed a particular topic and covered a particular topic.
So you really could think of this as sort of a digest, except that you can filter it for exactly what you're looking for.
That's right. That's right. And I think, for people who are very interested in trying to stay on top of how our local ports and communities and regulatory agencies and elected officials are dealing with the Clean Air Action Plan and the Clean Truck Program, we hope it will be a useful tool for them to do so, since they can filter it and search, for example, by Clean Air Action Plan or Clean Truck or Federal Maritime Commission, or something that will get them to the aspect of the program that will be most helpful to them.
Okay, just two very important questions left. When is this going to go live, and how are people going to access it?
We hope to have it go live by July. It's there. We're just working on making sure that the look is right, that the user interface works, and the administrative interface works for those of us who have to input the data. And it will be accessible via the MetTrans website, www.mettrans.org/timeline. And we hope that when people come to visit the timeline, they'll take advantage of all of the other good things that are on our website, including all of the research reports that helped generate this in the first place.
www.mettrans.org/timeline. I'm sure there'll be a link from the main MetTrans page as well.
That's right, Matt.
Tom, thank you so much for both the introduction to MetTrans and to this new resource, which will very soon be helping out the entire community of trade and transportation researchers and beyond.
Thank you, Matt. My pleasure.
Dr. Thomas O'Brien is Associate Director for Long Beach Programs for the MetTrans Transportation Center. This has been a MetTrans Transcast. MetTrans is funded by the United States Department of Transportation and the California Department of Transportation, Caltrans. We hope you'll join us for the next edition of Transcast.